Rudy's like, yeah, I listen to the podcast. And I was like, what do you listen to? He's like, oh, started breaking Amish. And I was like, whoa, what? And
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, you talked about how much you hated Amish people. And I'm like, yes, I did do that.
Yeah.
In 5 years, that is what's going to come back to haunt us.
Yeah, like the Amish community is gonna come back. Well, no, they won't because they won't listen to this. Amish rights activists will show up to
Could
your
you
doorstep.
imagine pitchforks and this like burning bags of horse shit that they throw through
Just
apartment
like
windows?
catapult into your house.
Well,
Ah, fuck.
I'd say we got to get started on this bad boy because this is a thick ass story.
Yeah, why don't you run it back for the
All
for the
right.
listeners?
So first of all, I'm Vance Miller. That's Eston,
What up?
and today we are covering the body in 348.
That sounds like
It
a really dope ass Netflix miniseries.
it's a murder mystery, so it's kind of
Okay.
fun. I'm not sure. I didn't read this entire story, just so you know.
Is this like
So
a pick your own adventure?
no, I
Can I
wish
be can I
that
be
would be
mustard
fun.
like in the
You
Clue games?
you can be the quotes.
Oh, there's quotes?
There's quotes, probably episode 2, maybe. Now
Okay.
you could do them in this episode, I think.
I'll just read them. I'll just read them like randomly out of context.
You're doing good, babe. Just randomly after we're talking about somebody
It's
getting
like
bludgeoned with a hammer.
it's like, yeah, so they were trapped in a closet for 36 days. Like, oh, hell yeah, I didn't know that. Like, what?
Yeah, so I guess we're taking a little bit of a turn and being a little mysterious instead of our thought-provoking themes that we have been doing.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess without further ado, let's just fucking hop into this shit. I'm excited. I'm in a good mood today. I'm excited. I have some beer. I'm getting over a cold. I'm ready to rock.
I just ate some string cheese.
Nice. This is straight off of Vanity Fair, and it's about 40 pages.
Yeah, we're reading a book, guys.
Greg Flanagan traveled light and lived tidy. After so many years on the road, he would leave his rolling suitcase open on the floor of his hotel room and use it as a drawer. Dirty clothes went on the closet floor. Shirts he wanted to keep unwrinkled hung above. Toiletries were in the pockets of a cloth folding case that hooked onto a towel rack in the bathroom. And at the end of the day, he would slide off his worn brown leather boots and line them up with the suitcase, drop his faded jeans to the floor, and put on lightweight cotton pajama bottoms.
Getting cozy. Dude, sleeping in a hotel always busts.
I know, especially after like a long day and you just roll in and it's like 62 degrees in there.
Yeah, and like the bed is made perfect.
I'm the snuggest bug in the snuggest rug.
I want that so bad constantly.
Most evenings, he never left the room. He would crank up the air conditioner. He liked a cool room at night and sit on the bed, leaning back on 2 pillows propped up against the headboard.
Were they there? What if you used one pillow?
What?
Well, I mean, they're describing like, he
Oh,
liked up the
yeah.
air and
Yeah,
like he
was there a
liked
fucking journalist there
was there
watching him
like someone just
sleep?
watch was this like premeditative? Like he was like, yeah, I'm gonna get murdered here. And
It's
this is
whoever
how I'm
killed
gonna
him.
like it.
Whoever killed him
Yeah.
wrote all this down.
They were watching him from like the closet, like, yeah, make it 58 degrees.
My nipples are just now getting hard. Considerately, to avoiding soiling the bedsheet, he would lay out a clean white hand towel on which he placed his ashtray, cigarette pack, lighter, Blackberry, and TV remote, and a candy bar.
No.
Interesting array of snacks.
Okay. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't like, okay. I understand like it's considerate of him to lay a towel on the bed so he can smoke in bed, but like, my guy, the ashes on the white towel, I mean, it's still flammable, don't you think? My concern would be like, oh shit, I lit my bed on fire.
I think he's being more considerate about burning a hole in like the sheets of the bed. You know, if like he dropped like an ember, and then like smacked it out real quick, because it will like immediately burn into your pants.
That is true. That is
So
fair.
it's better to have the washcloth have a burn mark on it instead of the bed sheets.
I just thought I solved it. I thought like he just killed himself by setting the whole hotel on
Would you
fire.
imagine they didn't know how he died, but like the whole room is just charred?
He's just charred as fuck, and he's just laying there. He's like, I wonder what happened.
His dead ass body is just like fucking a pile of
Of
smoke and
ash.
ash on the bed.
Oh no, you'd be really crazy if everything was burnt to fuck except for his body.
I would say he would then technically be the Human Torch.
What if he is the Human Torch? And
We don't
his
know.
lighter was his hand.
See, this is why we keep you around, Eston.
I am a professional investigator.
You have the brain power that we all just want to have so bad.
Email us if you have a missing relative, and I'll find him.
Yes,
And
email us thoughtvoidpodcast@gmail.com with your lost loved ones, lost pets. Eston will jump right on that case. He'll solve it.
I need,
Top of the line.
for my services, I'm gonna need extreme compensation though. Like, I just need your credit card and don't ask me what the expenses are. And I'll do everything in my power.
So he smoked and broke off candy bits while watching TV. This is where Greg was on the evening of Wednesday, September 15th, 2010, in room 348 of the MCM Elegante Hotel in Baymount, Texas, lounging, smoking, snacking on a Reese's Crispy Crunch bar, sipping root beer, and watching Iron Man 2.
What a fucking great time.
I know. He got
What
all
he was
cozy.
vibing.
He got his little jammy jams on. He got a little root beer, a ciggy, a candy bar. Good
Nice.
times. But he didn't get to see the end of the movie.
That shit sucks.
Greg was accustomed to solitary nights. As a young man, he worked as a chief engineer on ocean-going vessels, spending months at sea. Okay, I feel like if all else fails, I'm literally just going to move to like some weird small European country and just be like a clam fisherman.
Dude, that would be actually kind of sick if you and all your boys just kind of like just fucked it up on a boat.
And
You
just
know?
made like 20 grand a year, but like you're happy with it.
Yeah. That'd be a lot of like the adventures. Oh, fucking Ron cut his hand off. It's like we gotta throw him overboard.
Oh no, Eston's missing his leg at the hip.
at the hip. It's like his hip was just totally ripped out of socket and
There's just a big
just
concave
hole
dent
in
where
my
your leg used to
body.
be, and then your dick's just hanging off like the edge of it.
New pocket for my balls.
That'd be kind of cool.
It'd be kind of fun.
You could just
Dude,
kind of tape them up in that little, then you
it's
can
a
wear
new format.
leggings.
New form of tucking or whatever.
Yeah, dude. Then you could be the most convincing drag queen.
If I had one fucking leg. Yeah, I got to cut my leg off for this. I'm committed.
I'm fucking tucked to the nines.
Do we know how old Greg is, by the way?
I don't know.
I'm envisioning him like, at first I was envisioning him like late 40s.
Same, but now he's drinking root beer, watching Iron Man, and having candy. So maybe 13.
Maybe 13 and he stole cigarettes from his parents.
He's a chief engineer for an ongoing ocean vessel. So
He's probably like just hit 13.
it's like
Yeah.
a 9 with a full beard and sailor tattoos. So in middle age, he had reinvented. Okay, middle age. So he's probably 40 or 50.
Well, that sucks.
He
Well,
had
technically, when did he die? Because if his middle age is like 13,
True.
what is he, like 7? Greg is 7.
Greg is 7. He reinvented himself as a landman, a familiar occupation in South Texas, easing the exploration of mineral rights on property for gas and oil companies. Slender with a close-cropped white beard and weathered skin of a lifelong outdoorsman, he had partnered with his brother Michael in a thriving oil land leasing business based in this small city east of Houston. Every Monday morning, he would make the 2-hour drive in his pickup from Lafayette, Louisiana, heading west on Interstate 10 through scruffy Gulf Shore farmland broken only by cell phone towers, oil derricks, and billboards advertising motel chains, bayou restaurants, adult superstores, and other local attractions.
The bayou.
It took him through the stink of the big ConocoPhillips refinery at Lake Charles, a forest of piping, giant tanks, and towering chimneys. What is this, the Rockefeller era?
Yeah, I was like, dude, what the fuck? I'm so
What
confused.
Is there like chimney sweeps like dancing on rooftops as he drives by? Like Mary Poppins musical?
I feel like the way this is written, it's like, oh, he's in the middle of fuck ass of nowhere, and then just an absurd amount of dystopian factories just show up.
This is where Mothman lives.
Oh, sick.
It's literally
It was Mothman. That's why they can't. That's why it's a mystery.
Mothman slit this guy's throat.
Nice.
The hotel was just off of Cloverleaf outside Baymont. His company rented a room in the Cabana, a 3-story wing that wrapped around this small swimming pool framed by potted palms. That sounds like a really nice little hotel for being out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Well, maybe it is a little shitty hotel and they're just like hyping it up for the
Yeah,
story.
it's just like
It's
a
probably just,
motel
yeah,
with
it's
the
probably
pool's
just,
empty.
it's totally hasn't been cleaned in like, what, 5 summers. None of the doors actually lock.
There's like a skeleton of like a possum in the bottom of the pool. There's kids ollieing over it in an empty pool.
Like the fucking candy bar he's got is from this vending machine that hasn't been like refilled in like a decade.
Doesn't he have lights? So he had to use like a mag light to light it up at night.
It's all he has is like his bed and one single TV that's like mounted on the wall that's like the size of like my smartphone.
Room service has like 3 teeth, 1 eye, and is 450. Ogre woman.
It's just a man with a wig
Yeah, it's
who's
just a
like,
dude. It's just
he's like,
a
ma'am.
fucking lonely guy who's trying to get some dick. He's like, ooh.
Look at me. It's like, I can see that you're a man. No, I'm not.
Your ass is way too hairy to be a woman. That Wednesday night, watching his movie, Greg got an email from his wife, Susie, shortly after 7. Susie was using a computer program to file for a tax extension. After she reported her progress, he wrote back, "You're doing good, babe."
I wonder why that's
That seems
relevant.
really, really useless.
But
But
it's just like it should have just been like, yeah, he sent a text after that around 7 was his last text message, to his wife. So he was,
yeah,
not like, you're doing good, babe. Get that tax extension. Like, I don't fucking care. Like,
cool. You're doing your taxes.
otherwise the IRS would kill us and steal all of our stuff.
Probably.
It was the IRS.
I mean, shit, dude.
I'd believe it.
At some point during the loud computer-generated shutdown at the end of the film, amid all the fake violence, Greg was struck from nowhere with a very real and shattering blow. A blow so violent it would blind a man with pain. He managed to get off the bed and move towards the door before he fell, legs splayed, and face first. He was most likely dead by the time he hit the green rug. So, this boy was just finishing up the movie, and he just got whacked out of nowhere.
Just got right in the middle of bed, too.
And before he could even crawl to the hallway to ask for help or anything, he was dead. Face down on a shitty 70s green rug. I imagine the hotel is very out of date.
Okay, side note, dude, my cat has been a fuck today. God damn it. I just want to fucking eat
put him
him.
down, dude?
I know, dude. Seriously. Bingus, I'll put you down. But yeah, the rug is definitely from like the 70s.
It probably smells like beer and fried food and
Old
balls.
jizz.
Yeah.
Hasn't been vacuumed in 40 years.
There's probably some good loose change hiding in those rugs, man.
So he was just chilling. And then during like the
Loud part, I guess.
part of the movie, somebody like who was probably already in there got him.
I assume that they were in there the whole time.
At least snuggle up,
Yes.
Just after the flick.
The following morning, Susie Flanagan called Greg's office. Husband and wife usually spoke every morning, but he hadn't called. He wasn't answering his phone. When he failed to turn up at the office, 2 of his coworkers drove over to the hotel and knocked on his door. There was no answer, so they got the hotel manager to open it. Their alarmed calls brought an ambulance and the Baymont police. They found a middle-aged man dead on the rug, prone and doubled over. A spent cigarette cupped delicately between his 2 stiff fingers of his left hand. Jesus fucking, I'm having a stroke.
Dude, are you okay?
No. Room 348 was stuffy and exceptionally warm. The man's skin color had gone grayish blue. There was a wet spot at the crotch of his blue pajamas, but that wasn't unusual. So he pissed himself. What a fucking embarrassment.
Wow. No, but like when you die, you end up like shitting your pants.
Oh, yeah. You evacuate all liquid.
Everything.
In, yeah.
You know what's, dude, okay, so he's chilling, smoking a cig, gets up, probably like dying, and still has the cigarette in his hand.
Yeah, dude, that's a true American.
I mean, it's probably a good thing that he didn't drop it and like set the whole place on fire.
Yeah, honestly. Maybe it's like a calling card. Maybe it's a serial killer.
Ooh.
And he's like leaves a cigarette in their fingers every time he kills them. So Detective Scott Apple showed up a little more than an hour later. He is a short, very fit man with graying hair that he wears combed straight up in spikes. What is this, a skinny Guy Fieri? Right?
This is our
Am I
boy.
right?
This is Guy Fieri before he started cooking. After this case, he's like, I can't do this.
He is all cop, whatever the fuck that means. His wife had been a cop. He met her on the job. He was one of the assault team leaders of the department's SWAT team. He is one of those men who would never stop working. So, this guy's determined, it seems like, is what they're kind of
Seems
building
kind
up
of
to.
like a workaholic. Yeah.
But there was little here to interest him. No sign of a break in or struggle. Nothing disturbed in the room. No blood or obvious wounds. Flanagan's wallet was still in the back pocket of his jeans. He had a stack of $100 bills in it, so robbery wasn't an issue. Who walks
Ooh,
around with stacks of $100 bills?
our boy Greg.
I guess, yeah, Jesus Christ. Those staying in nearby rooms had heard nothing. As Apple questioned the neighbors, he told them it was probably a natural causes thing. Sad.
I mean,
I mean,
are you serious? Are you for real?
he's got a fucking dent in his head, but yeah, maybe.
Maybe he suffered from an implosion.
Is that kind of weird? Because they said that there's no obvious wounds, but earlier they said he was struck in the head
Maybe like that was kind of
afterwards.
afterwards, after like the autopsy or whatever, they found out that he
Right.
was
Yeah,
hit in the head.
probably. He poked around Flanagan's bags, looking mostly for pills, some clue to his collapse. There were none. Susie and Michael later told him that Greg never went to a doctor. He was a stubbornly independent man, suspicious of authority and unmoved by the modern passion of health and fitness. He did not exercise. He had chain smoked his entire adult life and had the nagging cough to prove it. He neither drank or ate to excess, but did both freely. It was easy to conclude that his choices had simply caught up with him. Susie was ready to believe it. She was shocked and grief stricken, but she accepted that for Greg, sudden death was a possibility. She's like, yeah, I could totally
Yeah,
see my husband just
just
dying out of nowhere
dying.
for sure. I knew
It's
it was
like
going to happen.
it's like, yeah, I was expecting this. It's a bummer.
She's like, anyway, so how
Anyway,
much was that life
it
insurance?
yeah, it's like we paid on that every month, right, guys? Like, come on.
In fact, she took some solace in it. He had
What?
checked out on his own terms. Many times she had heard him remark upon hearing someone's dying suddenly, lucky bastard, that's how I want to go. And so he had. I mean, just because you say you want to go that way doesn't mean that it will happen. Maybe he manifested it.
Manifest that shit, bruh. I also feel like people say, "Oh, I want to die this way." I often feel like when people actually die, it's a little less enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like if I were to just suddenly die on the podcast right here, I feel like that wouldn't be fun for anyone.
No, I mean, it'd be great content.
Yeah, that I mean it would be fun
If,
for the
if you kind of
episode.
drug it out, though, and like made it dramatic and didn't just like go silent, you know?
Just like uh,
Yeah, for like 10 minutes.
uh, uh.
Exactly. See, now this is a show. At the hotel, the police saw his death as routine. A photographer snapped pictures. God damn it. You're still dying? Just fucking die already, bro. A photographer snapped pictures to make him. God damn it. A photographer snapped pictures to make a record of the scene, and the body was driven by a transport service to the Jefferson County Medical Examiner for an autopsy. The only mystery here appeared to be medical, and it was likely a minor mystery at that. So they think he just killed over at this point.
I mean, I would honestly believe it. Like he's just kind of
Yeah, I mean,
seems extremely unhealthy, you know?
he's just eating candy, drinking root beer, and smoking cigs in bed while watching Marvel movies.
I mean, he just kind of, I mean, he lived it up how he wanted to, you know?
He sounds like somebody who watches Marvel movies.
He does kind of, he,
He fits the demographic here.
yeah, I mean, like people die this way in this same situation
I mean,
probably every day.
how many people have died watching Avengers?
Probably more than I'd like to think. Can we
Uh,
Google that? Can you
I'm gonna
Google
look it
that?
up. Yeah. Well, there's at least 200 million people that watched the Avengers. And then there's a few Reddit posts about people who died watching Infinity War. So We're just gonna go out of 200 million. We're gonna say at least 100,000.
Oh my God. It's, you get up to heaven, it's like, yeah, I died in like a super epic battle. I was beheaded. Took like 3 arrows to the chest. What about you? He was like, oh, I just saw like
I was watching Infinity War.
I was watching Infinity War. What's that? It's like, oh, it's dolls. They dress up in costumes and then they pretend to fight big blue man or purple man in the sky.
His like gym shorts are all like tucked up in his crotch and his thighs are rubbing together and he's
He's
like pigeon
chafing
toed.
so hard. Got a fedora.
He's
Like,
wearing one of those t-shirts that looks like a tuxedo.
oh my God, dude. Just smells like fucking.
Cheetos and ball sacks.
You would like, man, it's really cool. You want to talk about good battles? Like, you want to talk about battles? This Vendor game? Iron Man?
You you would not believe what Thanos
Dude, Thanos killed half the universe. Isn't that crazy? I was part of that. When he snapped, I died.
did. When he snapped, I died. Dr. Tommy Brown had a time-tested method. It took him 45 minutes to conduct a post-mortem exam, inspecting a body inside and out, measuring and weighing organs, all while describing what he had found in nothing the metrics that fleshed out the official form. He was all business, crisp, efficient, and confident. Brown was thin and bald on top and had a spray of unruly white hair on the sides that gave off a mad scientist vibe. Okay, Vanity Fair, using the word vibe in a fucking 40-page article.
Like,
Come
come on.
on, come on.
Who,
Seriously?
who does that?
We're talking about a dead man here, and you
We're
said
talking about a
mad
murder
scientist
case.
vibe.
But yeah, dude, this guy's mad scientist vibe was fire.
It's just like a millennial writing all this down.
It's just gonna derail into like just stupid internet jargon. So his fit was fucking heat, dog. That dripping ice, fam.
His
Lit.
death was pretty based.
Whoever pulled off this crime was fucking a G, bro.
They were not
Like,
passing the vibe check.
they did not pass the vibe check, but apparently Greg did.
Greg did, but he also didn't pass the vibe check of the killer.
Of the killer. So it's
Because the
just a
killer
battle of
fucking
vibes.
checked him.
The vibe check was so hard.
So he did everything fast. He even talked fast. He was a local character, part of the legal landscape in Jefferson County, and a respected one. Where death was concerned, in this corner of Texas, Dr. Tommy Brown word was law. The circumstances of Greg Flanagan's death, as reported, were unremarkable. On the table before him was a 55-year-old Caucasian male who appeared to be in decent shape. After a methodical inspection, the only marks Brown had found on the body were a 1-inch abrasion on his left cheek where his face had hit the rug, and, curiously, a half-inch laceration of his scrotum. Interesting.
Wait, whoa.
So there's a half-inch laceration on his scrotum.
So the killer's trying to get some of that sack.
I guess. Maybe it was an alien trying to get some human cum. The article goes to say, this was interesting. The sac itself was swollen and discolored, and around the wound was a small amount of edema fluid. The bruising had spread up through the groin area and across the right hip. Something had hit him hard.
So so he was just chilling in bed and then someone went to nut tap him too hard. He
Dude,
fucking
he
died.
got hit so hard his ball sack split open. So I don't know.
Dude, was it fucking Iron Man, dude? Did he come out of the TV and just fucking
Instead of
nut
3D,
punch
it
him?
was like fucking 5D Iron Man, and it's like the fifth dimension is him actually being in the room.
Would be kind of sick until
Would be
your
sick.
ball sack rips open from the sheer force of Iron Man's will.
Iron Man had his way with old Gregory.
With old Gregory here.
The story his body told grew more intriguing. When Brown opened the front of the torso, he discovered a surprising amount of blood and extensive internal damage. A certain amount of partially digested food had been torn from his intestines. The doctor found small lacerations there and on the stomach and liver, as well as 2 broken ribs and a hole in the right atrium of his heart. What the fuck?
Yo.
Was this dude hit by a train? Jesus Christ.
What the heck? That's so interesting. It's like his insides were totally fucked. It's
Bro,
like
this
something.
has to be aliens. It has
It
to be
has to be
aliens.
aliens. Like it's like they went in through his ball sack, fucked his organs, and then came out.
And then just came out of the ball sack. We're like, bye,
How does that,
toodaloo.
dude? He was totally attacked by aliens, and that would explain why there was no forced entry because they just like I don't know teleported in.
It just like whoop 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 whoop, and they were just there, crawled
Whoop, whoop,
inside
whoop,
of him,
whoop.
killed him, and then whoop 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 whoop, and then just disappeared. The condition of his insides reflected severe trauma.
You
Flanagan
don't
had been
say.
Flanagan had been beaten to death or crushed. Brown concluded that the wound of his genitals likely had been caused by a hard kick. He had
Hmm.
also taken a blow to the chest, so severe it had caused lethal damage. He would have bled out in less than 30 seconds. Jesus, he got
Oh
hit
my God.
so hard that his internal bleeding would have killed him in 30 seconds.
So here's what I'm getting out of this. Either he was hit by a train, he was attacked by aliens, or a fucking bodybuilder was chilling in there unbeknownst and then just absolutely dogged his cheeks.
John Cena, dun, 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 dun. He fucking like elbow drops
Just
him
drive.
from the ropes on the bed.
Just-
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of because he had a hole in his heart, and it turns
Yeah.
out he had a blow to the chest, so his broken ribs maybe poked a hole in his heart.
Yeah, dude,
I don't know.
dude, bro. It was John Cena because you can't see John Cena. It's like the meme.
You can't see me.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Just
John
waves his hand
Cena.
in front of his face and just like
Ooh, ooh,
deteriorates
ooh.
into thin air.
Just dissipates as you're laying there, just like dying.
So on the official form next to manner of death, Brown wrote homicide. So at this point, they're okay. This guy is definitely beaten to death. He's literally a sack of mashed potatoes.
You know what's crazy? The only like issue that they found externally was the nut sack. So like you would think that if he was like, let's say he fell and someone like kicked the shit out of him until he died, they'd be hella bruising.
Well, I mean, he was bruised from his balls all the way up around his hip.
Yeah, but I'm saying about like his heart and his ribs and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Right, right. I mean, it would be like black, especially if he was like
Yeah.
bleeding internally.
That's what, yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, you see shit like that on the news, like, local fucking elderly woman beaten by this guy for 3 broken ribs and she's bruised to shit. And it's like, this guy didn't have any of that.
Right. Yeah. Like I've seen autopsy photos of people who've been beaten and they are severely discolored.
You just do that?
What?
But no, same. Yeah.
How else do I go to bed?
Yeah, it's like, that's my nightly routine, dude.
When he got this surprising news, Detective Apple called Brown immediately for an explanation. The doctor told him that the man at 348 had suffered the kind of severe internal injuries he was more used to seeing in crash victims or someone found under a heavy fallen object.
Did
So-
God just like crush this dude into the floor? Like,
He just takes his big finger while Greg's laying on his bed watching fucking Iron Man 2 and just smashes him into the bed like an ant.
gravity just became so intense there for a second, just like crushed him into the ground.
And the bed just didn't give it all. Just
Yeah.
the mattress
Selective
turned to
gravity.
cement. Yeah. There are not many murders in Baymont. I feel like I've been saying Baymont different ways every time, so you guys are just gonna have to deal with it. I don't want to hear about it at all.
Where is this actually, though?
Texas?
I knew that.
Greg was one of 10 that year, which was about average. Most are not mysterious. Detective work was usually a matter of doing the obvious, interviewing the drunk boyfriend with gunpowder on his hands, or finding the neighborhood drug dealer who was owed money. A case like this was a once-in-a-career event. If you enjoy working a stubborn whodunit, which Apple does, then this was one exciting challenge. But the problem with the hard cases is that they are indeed hard. Over the next weeks and months, Apple chased down every angle he could imagine to explain the death of Greg Flanagan. But about 6 months into it, he was stuck. The physical evidence didn't add up. Unless Greg had been beaten to death elsewhere and his body had been returned to the room and carefully placed on the rug, nothing about the scene added up to a crime. How does a man get beaten so severely that ribs crack, inner organs tear, and the heart ruptures, all without significant damage to his torso?
That's what I'm saying.
Aliens. What?
Also, dude, I feel like you know how Detective Apple's like super into this. He's like festering at the mouth, like I
He's like,
need someone to get
yes.
murdered. He's like, finally.
Maybe our boy Apple did it.
That's ooh,
He's just
okay.
trying to be a hero.
He's just trying to spice up the workplace by murdering people.
I guess he's just trying to impress the new detective girl that he's trying to
Trying to get
bag.
with.
Other than the bruising and the cut at his crotch, Flanagan's outer body showed no signs of a beating. And how could such a rumble have taken place in a hotel room without a thing being toppled over or even disturbed, without anyone in adjacent rooms hearing a thing? That is true. I mean,
That
this
do be
boy was
facts.
ran over by a fucking train and nobody heard it.
The train, homie was ran over by a train in a hotel and nobody heard it at
It
all.
literally went through the window and out the door and down the hall and nobody heard it. And there was no answer to the all important question why? Apple talked a lot to Susie. She had been in her 20s, a singer in a rock band when she met Greg. She clearly adored him. Susie was a delightfully offbeat Southern belle, buxom and pretty warm, and oh so differential, but also, in that crime honored Southern way, stubborn as a tick. She was heartbroken and furious at the same time. Greg was the nicest man she had ever met. He was so nice that she married him twice. First as kids, and then, after parting ways for a number of years, again in middle age. When Susie first called him after getting that separation, he said, I've been waiting for you to call. They had been married the second time for 15 years. Okay, so let's get this straight here. Susie left him at some point, okay?
Hmm.
Got back together, maybe regretted it?
Well, it seems like they really liked each other. And like, how the fuck? Okay, wait, hold on. So this took place in Texas. Where was she? Like, where did they live? You know what I mean?
Um, I mean, he lived in the area, but it said early on he drove 2 hours to work. So she was somewhere in that 2 hour radius.
So, I mean, would she have? I guess it would depend on if she had known prior to what room he was in. You know
I
what
mean,
I'm
all
saying?
of his coworkers knew and everything.
Like what room he was in?
Yeah, because they went to his room when he didn't respond. And when he didn't answer the door after knocking, because they were calling him and he didn't answer. So they went to his room, knocked on the door, and he didn't answer. So they went to the front lobby to get them to unlock it. And that's when they found his dead body.
You think they like asked like, "Hey, I'm looking for this person,"
They
you
very
know?
well could have, yeah. But I got my eyes on Susie, bro. We'll see how this goes, but I got
Okay.
my eye on Susie.
All right.
His brother and coworkers said he had been universally liked in their company. His life at Elegante rarely intersected with anyone else's. He went to his room early in the evening and usually stayed there by himself until morning. Greg had never been seen down at the bar. He did not socialize or drink a lot or pick up women. So Greg seems like quite the little shut in, I suppose.
He's kind of more keeps to himself and his unhealthy habits.
And watches Marvel.
He's not like
Huh?
he made enemies or like fought people at the bar or whatever.
Yeah, like he didn't piss anybody off that was drunk, because he was in his room when everyone else was drinking. This was not a philanderer or a man who got into fights. This was a decent, honorable, smart, and successful man who liked people. The sort of man nobody would murder, yet somebody had. Through the fall and into the winter of 2010, Apple pursued a number of possibilities. Maintenance records showed that at some point early in the evening of his death, while cooking prepackaged popcorn in the microwave, Greg had inadvertently blown an electrical circuit. The outage had affected the adjacent room 349 and the rooms directly underneath. Greg had called the front desk to report the outage and confessed his role sheepishly to the man who had come up to reset the breaker. This led to two theories.
Okay.
The first involved sex. The Elegante maintenance man happened to have a rap sheet as a sex offender. Might the puncture wound to the scrotum and internal injuries have been caused by a long screwdriver, some sort of bizarre and kinky assault? Apple spent a lot of time talking to the maintenance man and looking into his background, but this theory never advanced beyond wild suspicion.
Bruh.
Like,
That might be the dumbest shit I've ever heard, not gonna lie.
what? He's just fucking stabbing his. stabbed
Yo,
his balls and then just kept
left?
punching him like to
Like,
cause all of the internal damage.
yeah, like, what did he fuck his ass so hard that his heart ruptured and broke
I
his
don't
rib?
know, dude.
Like,
Maybe this dude's got like a 3-footer.
I mean, but then
I
wouldn't they see
mean,
that his asshole is just like blown the fuck out?
I don't know, dude. I mean,
Like, maybe that's the liquid they found in his pants from earlier, just like,
just
like,
cum just leaking out, dripping on the floor.
Jesus.
This,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sex. God
the
damn it.
the invisible force that crushed this dude's organs was fucking the sex
Massive
offender's
hog.
massive dick.
I mean, hey man, can't rule it out. The
Yeah, I
second
mean,
theory involved a group of union electric. Of course, blame the fucking union.
here we go.
Union electricians staying at the Elegante, a number of whom had been in the room next door, room 349, on the night Greg died. They were in town for an extended stay doing a job for an oil company. At night, they tended to assemble in another's room to drink. Ooh, that's always fun.
Hmm.
What if some of them had been partying next door when their electricity went out? Might one or two of them had knocked on Greg's door and perhaps drunk and annoyed, exchanged words with, and then assaulted him in the hallway? I mean, I feel like if you blew breaker, nobody's gonna like
Kill you over it.
lose their mind that hard where you're gonna stab your ball sack and then beat your ass. Like, could Greg, badly beaten, have returned to his room and then collapsed? Some of the electricians had been questioned on the day the body was found, but none of them said they had any interaction with the man in 348. I mean,
Hmm.
even if so, to put myself in these electricians' like shoes,
Yeah.
even if I had an interaction with him, but I didn't kill him, I would still say I didn't have an interaction with him just because
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to deal with this.
I wouldn't want to deal with this, but like, yeah, dude, I don't know fucking talk.
What
I
a pain
just
in the ass.
I've never once been like, hmm, my neighbor's just being a little bit of annoyance today.
I
I'm gonna
know. Like
murder him with my boys.
I hear my neighbor all the time, but I'm never like, God, I should go over there and just fucking stab them.
In the
Like,
nutsack.
I never even thought about like knocking on the door and being like, hey, like it's part of like living with other people. Well, it's like you're gonna hear shit. Something's goofy's gonna happen.
Yeah.
9 days after Greg's death, Apple and a colleague returned to the third floor of the cabana wing to question some of these same men again. Apple was wearing a hidden video camera. The men they encountered were friendly and appropriately curious.
When I'm just getting like
So
the
they're
electrician dudes are curious. Is that what that means? Sorry, I'm
yeah,
just my
they
brain
they were
is
like they're like, why the fuck are you questioning us again? Like, what happened? Like, what did this guy look like? What happened to him?
hmm.
I mean, because they probably didn't do it, so they're probably like, why are you so on our ass? What happened to this guy?
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's like I don't get it.
Like,
If
clearly you
I
didn't
killed
just find
somebody,
him
it wouldn't
dead.
be this way.
If I did it, I would have went with a 22,
Straight to the dome.
one and done.
It's like, guys, this is not my MO. All right, I'm flattered. But what happened to that guy anyway?
Asked Lance Muller, a sharp-featured man with dark, thinning hair dressed in a t-shirt and blue jeans. Muller was the man registered in room 349, along with a roommate, Tim Steinmetz.
Hell, I don't know.
Apple said honestly.
That's what I'm trying to find out. It was almost like something fell on him or something. We're just trying to see if somebody heard something, or maybe if somebody knows somebody hearing something, or maybe if somebody messed with it.
Something, something, something.
Somebody did something with somebody, and something happened, and then someone found out
And
that
then he
somebody
was
fell
dead.
on him, and then he died. That's some grade A detective work right there.
Fantastic. He's like, this
Wow.
happened, and then something else happened, and then his balls got cut open, and then something happened, and then he was crushed because
And then,
somebody did something.
and what can I say?
He's
Something happened. Some weird shit's going on.
there's just like yarn like all over the walls, just hundreds of feet of yarn wrapping around all this shit. Muller and Steinmetz had nothing to offer. The two electricians said they thought they had heard the man in the next room coughing when they returned from the bar. Muller seemed as confused as Apple was about the idea that something had crushed the man.
There's nothing in these rooms heavy enough.
He said, What a weird thing to say. How does he know there's nothing heavy enough?
Oh,
Yeah?
oh.
In a corner. You're fucked.
Damn, got him. It was him. It's not like
Boom.
he was
Wrap it
staying
up,
in like the
boys.
same room or anything.
Down the hall, they found three or more electricians: Trent Passano, Thomas Elkins, and Scott Hamilton.
Why are there so many electricians at this fucking hotel?
I don't know, man. Some type of,
Convention?
I guess.
Look at this new outlet I invented. Like,
Wow, look at this 200 ohm resistor. Isn't this cool? The men were friendly and tried to be helpful. One said that when he had seen the body on a gurney in the elevator. Okay, first of all, could you imagine getting in the fucking elevator and there's just a dead guy on a fucking gurney next to you?
there's like a paramedic, and
Like,
you just kind of
what?
look over him and be like, you think he, like, read this next line real quick?
He had first assumed they were caterers delivering a cake or a big food tray.
Imagine, like, you're a paramedic and some fucking dude gets in the elevator and he's just like,
Yo, is that tacos?
yo, that shit smells like fucking ass. What is that? Fucking corned beef? Like, no, this is your neighbor. He just fucking died. Like, oh, that's a better thought.
Said Apple. Pisano said he had been in the room with Moeller and Steinmetz that night, but hadn't seen anything. The electricians handed over their driver's license and gave Apple their cell phone numbers. They would be in town for a few more months if anything came up. Happy to help. Okay, so I mean, it's definitely not these guys.
Yeah, no. I mean, shit, dude. Not gonna lie. If I killed somebody in the I mean, not that I would do this, but
True. I
like,
mean,
you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like,
yeah,
I would do
yeah.
this. I mean, not that I would, but like,
You're right. You're right.
like they, like, of course they would help.
I'm not gonna be like,
Like,
no, haha, bye.
it's like I definitely didn't do this, and I'm not gonna comply with the cops. Like, come on.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Weeks went by, months went by. Apple worked any theory he could imagine. He considered the possibility that Susie had had her husband killed. See? Keep an eye on Susie.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Yeah, keep an eye on Susie, Q.
Fucking Susie.
He considered Michael Flanagan, Greg's brother and partner. There was nothing that even hinted at either person. I don't know, bro. I mean, usually when somebody dies and they don't know who it was, they always question the partner first.
If hypothetically Susie kills him, that means she'd have to be there before he got there.
No, because Apple considered the possibility that Susie had her husband killed.
Oh, had her husband killed. Okay, okay. I get you. Okay.
So she hired one of these hunk electricians, these big, strong men, to beat the fuck and cut up his balls.
I like that.
Who doesn't love a mystery solved? It creates order from disorder. Solves our ache for moral balance. An unsolved mystery is like a stone in your shoe. True, I feel that.
I mean, honestly, if we didn't ever figure this case out, I'd probably just go on living.
Same. Yeah, I'd be fine.
Like, I'm probably gonna forget about this in like a couple days. A couple days.
After we're done with this series, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna ever look into this again.
That is where the case of the body in room 348 was by the end of 2010. Scott Apple was stimid. Scott Apple was stimid.
Dude, the word choice in this
I don't know.
fucking article.
It's either really bad or really smart.
Yeah, like I can't tell what's going on here.
Hoping to unearth something new, in November, the family had put up a $50,000 reward.
God
It produced
damn.
nothing. Michael hired a private detective from Houston, a former FBI agent. Apple met with the man and reviewed the case. That was the last he saw of him. The matter of Greg Flanagan was bound for the cold files. It would be just another sad box of notes and evidence stored in the Jefferson County courthouse.
You think?
Like, what?
I don't think Michael killed him because, like, why would Michael have his brother killed and then get the FBI involved?
Money, insurance, to own the business himself. I don't know. I mean, they're business partners.
I mean, I guess I could see it.
Maybe
Yeah.
like the cut wasn't fair according to the brother's eyes. I don't know.
I would want to know more about their relationship then.
Yeah, same. Ken Brennan took Susie's call on the golf course. She was surprised that he picked up the phone himself.
Kenny Brennan speaking. I'm not doing that voice. Oh my God, do you have a secretary?
Susie asked. She was flustered. The detective had answered on the first ring. Damn, that's an antsy detective.
She's just fiending for someone to give her something to do.
She could barely get the story out. Greg's death, the coroner's finding, the dead end. He asked her to send him some files. He'd take a look. She said she had been feeling under the weather, but she would try to pull together what she had pronto and send it off to him.
Hold on. So,
He's
never
asking
mind.
for documents.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Or
but I,
she's asking for documents. No, Ken Brennan. So he's
Ken
asking for
Brennan
documents. Yeah.
is, yeah, but I'm like, I'm kind of like Susie's like, oh, can you help me with this? And he's like, yeah, can you give me the documents you have? Like, yeah, but I'm tired.
Yeah. Dude, this is what I'm saying. Look at Susie, bro. Keep an eye on Susie. This shit, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Hey, man, could be. Well,
Said Brennan.
you need to fucking take care of yourself.
Jesus, Brennan.
God,
Chill.
dude, Brennan, relax.
Like everything Brennan says, this came out in a thick New York accent. And it, dude, perfect. So now you know the voice.
I
You
can't
have
do.
to use the voice.
I can't. I don't know how to do a New York accent.
You need to fucking take care of yourself.
The spaghetti.
The
Gotta fucking
spaghetti.
take care of yourself.
See, there you go. That was leaning Australian, but we're getting
Yeah,
there.
see, like exactly. Like I can only do Australian.
This came out in a thick New York accent and a voice that sounds like it's strained through a cubic yard of gravel.
Bro, are
It-
we okay? This writer like kind of gives it's like reading like a fiction.
I know the attention to like the weird detail is like too much.
Yeah, it's not like I
A
bet you when they
cubic yard of gravel.
just say he had like a husky voice or some shit. I bet they wrote that line where like this shit's fire. This is gonna hit
is gonna come through so good.
vivid, dude.
Just say he's a New Yorker that smokes 2 packs a day.
Well, yeah,
Come on.
like if this was like a made up thing, like yeah, I would be in. But like for some reason, the fact that it's fiction or nonfiction kind of throws me off a little bit.
Just makes me want to punch this writer. It was a no bullshit, you better listen to me command that was all the more startling because he said something so tender. It endeared him to Susie immediately. Brennan is a former Long Island cop and DEA special agent who now makes a good living as a private detective in Florida. This is why he was on the golf course in February. He is pushing 60, still solid, and always tan and stylish in the South Florida manner. She's like, why do we need to know this?
Yeah, I mean, like just say like he's a 60-year-old private detective in Florida. Like I don't need to know
we
his
have
eye
40
color.
pages here. We don't need to go to this much detail. This is why it's 40 pages.
Yeah, it's like 20 of these pages just describing fucking
To scrap
Ken
it.
here. Yeah, like just they needed an editor.
And this next line continues. Blue-eyed, thick-necked, and ruggedly handsome, he is a partial to lightweight, short-sleeved shirts that show off his torso and big arms. He wears flashes of gold at the neck and wrist and Irish rings on several fingers.
I don't care.
I know. And
like this whole fucking paragraph is just describing this dude. And it's like
and the last sentence is literally Brennan's hair is mostly white now and is combed straight back on the sides and straight up in the front in a low-key, pompadour, cocky, but defined.
I hate everything that just happened. Like that's so ass.
What are we reading? Like a romantic novel?
You remember how I feel like we're reading one of those like horny books that old people will read.
Yes. There's just like we said, I forget what episode it was, but this is the same shit.
This is X.
Yes. This is X as a cop.
Yeah.
I like that. Months earlier, not long after Greg was killed, a young lawyer friend, Kay Sherman, had told Susie and Michael about Brennan. Sharing Susie's frustration with the investigation, she had hit upon the strategy of filing a lawsuit against the hotel as a means of pursuing the probe privately. She had read an article by me in this magazine. Wow, what a fucking plug. The Case of the Vanishing Blonde, December 2010.
Wait, hold on. Hold on a minute. Well, finish the thing. Sorry.
Detailing Brennan's remarkable success in resolving a 2005 cold case in Miami. Now, when the investigation seemed hopeless, Sherman brought up Brennan again.
I did a little investigating myself here. Okay. I looked up who wrote this article. All right. His name
Okay.
is Mark Bowden.
Okay.
Kind of want to punch him in the face a little bit.
Mark.
The author, at
Oh
least. I
my
don't,
God. Look at this fool when he had long hair.
that's what I'm saying.
Jesus Christ.
But you know that article that you just, the plug?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Guess who wrote that article?
Him.
He did.
Yeah, he said in there, he literally says she had read the article by me in this
Oh,
magazine.
come on, dog.
Come on, Brennan.
He's just like, yeah, I helped. If it wasn't
For
for me, this case would never have been this way.
Jesus Christ.
God damn. Mark, get your dick out of your ass.
Yeah,
All
get your dick
right.
for real.
If you want to do something,
She urged Susie.
you have got to call this guy. The one I told you about. Just find him.
Brennan can be readily found on the internet and is asked to take more cases than he can handle. People come to him with unresolved murders and disappearances. He takes these people seriously and handles them gently. When he reads a file, he is looking for a case that intrigues him, but also one where he thinks he might be able to accomplish something.
I ain't in the business of giving people false hopes.
He says. The Flanagan case appealed to him because of the mystery, but also because there were so many avenues to explore. Greg's family and coworkers, hotel guests, and the maintenance man. Whatever.
This is such a
I know
weird.
that's a weird way. I don't know. I don't know. To Detective Apple, none of these leads seemed fresh anymore. To Brennan, they were all new and potentially promising. He knew that a fresh pair of eyes was perhaps the most valuable thing he had brought to an investigation. Brennan visited Lafayette in April. He worked Susie over first, asking her a lot of hard questions about their relationship, about Greg's faithfulness, and insurance arguments, satisfying himself that the wife had no clear motive to have killed him.
Nah. Let me ask you one more thing.
Said Brennan.
Was there anything about the crime scene that didn't seem right to you, that seemed off? Yeah, dog. My husband's nutsack was cut open, and his entire intestinal structure was fucked.
Destroyed.
Homie was hit by a bus in a bedroom, dude. Yeah, something was off.
For real. Susie told him that she was surprised that the room was so warm when Greg's coworkers entered it in the following morning. Her husband liked to crank up the AC at night.
That was something that I noticed too. Is like he was
Yeah.
like they pointed out that he liked the AC, but then like it was so hot.
You know, and to me, I feel like I wonder if they did that, if whoever killed him did that to speed up the decomposition process, to make
That's
it a
what I was
little
thinking.
less obvious what happened. Because once a
Mm,
body swells and decomposes and all the blood settles, like, you know, if you're laying on your stomach, all the blood's going to settle in the front of your body. It's going to be a
mhm.
lot harder to find out like what actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what my thought process was too. Is that like maybe with how I mean I don't know how what is it? It wasn't freezing obviously, but like the colder might preserve evidence longer than if
Oh
it
yeah,
was like
100%. If
98
it's
degrees or whatever.
frozen, I mean think about like when you find like a frozen mammoth that's
Yeah,
like perfectly preserved. But if that mammoth was in the
the
Sahara
desert.
Desert, you
Yeah.
know, it's going to be bones.
He's like, yeah, this really shitty hotel heater is gonna decompose this body ASAP.
He's like, in a matter of 24 hours, the sky will be a skeleton. And nobody's going to smell a thing.
Yeah, seriously.
Then Brennan went home and made arrangements for a second trip to Baymount. Apple came out to a sports bar late to meet him. The two men ate and talked. Brennan told Apple what he always tells the cops he meets in his work.
Listen, I'm not a maverick. I don't go doing things half-cocked. If I decide we're going to do this, we're going to do it as a team. There's nothing I'm going to do that you're not going to know about. And there should be nothing that you're going to do that I don't know about. The one thing I won't do is fuck up your case. I've been doing this a long time, but I also know that you're the guy in charge here, so it's your case.
Part of
Dude,
what was what?
I don't know. Nothing. No, just nothing.
Okay.
Just This fucking writer, dude.
I know, it's weird. Part of what was going on was Brennan picking out Apple. The fuck? Why did I say picking when it literally says checking?
Are you good? Like
I don't know.
you want me to take over?
Bro, literally, I've been like fucking up sentences the past few days, and I feel like I'm about to have an aneurysm.
If you die on the podcast, can you
I'm
like let me
also
know in advance?
I'm also getting over a sickness, so honestly, I feel like my brain's just all scrambled.
You know what else is scrambled? Greg's
Greg's
insides.
balls.
Yes.
Hey, we're on the same page here. Part of what was going on was Brennan checking out Apple.
I don't want to work with somebody I don't like.
He told me.
God damn.
That's
It's like, listen here, dog.
He's straight
You're
to
a
the point.
fucking bitch, and I don't
Yeah,
like it.
He prides himself on being able to read people very quickly. He liked the Baymount detective. It was mutual, as Apple would put later.
And what is good? Good. Ken has good people skills.
And this next section is called dry toothpaste.
Yeah. Yeah, give us some of that dry toothpaste. I like sniffing up that dry toothpaste. Come on, give it to me.
The following morning, Apple picked up Brennan and they visited the hotel room, where Apple showed him the crime scene photos and autopsy results and reviewed what he had done over the previous 7 months.
Yo,
Brennan heard him out and then announced,
I think I know how this guy died. I think I know when he died. I think I know who killed him, and I think I know how we're gonna catch him. Yo, come on. Like, actually, though.
said Apple.
No, but for real.
No, but for real, come on.
Like, seriously?
Really? You just walk in the fucking room, look at the photos, look at the autopsy shit, and you're like, I know who did
That
it.
is like, I know. He has a fedora, puts up his glasses with like his middle finger. I know who did this.
I know who did it. It was John Cena.
Oh, it's John Cena.
It had to be.
He's got like a super long, gross, greasy leather jacket that's not real.
He's got a fucking rat tail.
Super bad patchy neck beard going on.
Oh, yes. He's literally a Discord mod.
For real. It's like, I'm not a real detective. You know, I got my degree online for my detective mod.
Arizona State, you represent.
Hear me out. I'll tell you what I think. But first, I got to call the guy's wife. He just calls her up. It's like, yo, I'm about to bust this shit wide open.
I'm about to blow your mind.
It's like, dude, I figured it out.
So he called Susie's cell phone.
Your husband, was he left or right-handed?
He asked.
He was right-handed.
Susie replied.
And when he smoked, did he smoke with his cigarette in his left hand or his right hand? He always smoked with his right hand.
She said.
Are you sure? I'm positive.
She replied.
Mm.
So he's
on to something.
He's on to the cigarette thing.
So they have the theory that we were talking about.
I like that. Look at us.
That's cool.
We are literally detectives. This
I was just thinking,
is really just fucking making us smart.
Dude, you know what we should do? We should start another podcast of just looking at cold cases and just like seeing if we can figure it out. Just random garbage.
We should.
That would actually be so funny.
That'd be so fun.
Do you want to do you? I'd be so down for that.
I would be down. I'd be down if you guys get these listens up and we start getting fucking good views and shit. We're gonna start a second podcast where me and my boy Esden fucking solve cold cases. Live.
That would be so much fun because we are so qualified for that.
I mean, look at us go.
I mean, yeah, we're on this bitch, you know.
Brennan hung up and explained his conclusions to Apple. Susie had already told him how cold Greg kept his room. This helped fix the time of death. As Brennan saw it, the air conditioner had shut down with everything else when the circuit breaker blew. That time was known. Hotel records show that the repairman had left Greg alive and well around 8:30 p.m. The movie resumed, and apparently Greg forgot to flip the AC back on. It would have taken a few minutes for the room to grow warm enough for him to notice, and by the time it had, he was dead. That's why he had been found in a warm room. As Brennan put it,
in September, it's hot as fuck in Baymont, Texas.
So.
Okay.
He was killed in like a matter of minutes.
Minutes. So his entire organs were just like absolutely blendered, you
Are we
know?
sure there wasn't like a fucking monkey in this room? Like,
Like
was there
an
like a
ape.
chimpanzee or
Yeah,
something?
was this like a chimp attack? Like, god
Like,
damn. Uh,
Jesus Christ.
and it's like, how did no other like other detective like make note of that?
Right? I mean, like, come on. Like,
It just feels like they kind of threw his case under the rug, and then this retired dude was like, "You guys aren't doing your job."
well, it's because, I mean, this guy is like, he seems passionate about this stuff, but the
Mhm.
rest of the cops are probably like, oh, we don't know who did it. Bummer.
That sucks. I
Throw
don't
it in
get
the
paid.
filing cabinet, close the drawer, and you're done.
It's like I don't get paid enough for this at all.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's how a lot of cops are.
I mean,
I mean,
subscribe to our Patreon where we discuss heavy politically charged issues.
the cigarette the cigarette scotched the notion that Greg had been beaten severely somewhere else, perhaps even just out in the hall, and then returned to 348. I feel like if he was beaten this bad in the hallway,
Yeah.
somebody going to the fucking ice machine would have seen or heard this.
Like, it sounds like someone's getting their ass handed to them down
Like
the hall.
like
Like,
just look out your peephole in your door and you can get like a good fisheye view of Greg dying. like
yeah, you look out the fucking people and you see like a few dudes dragging a body into a room. Like, you're gonna be
all
like,
the electricians.
yeah, like, maybe I should call somebody.
Or it's just fucking a chimpanzee just dragging him in the hallway.
A just a giant gorilla, just like, yep. Do you think, like, even if it was in the hallway, do you think they would have had some kind of surveillance camera,
I mean, I would
like,
hope so.
in the hallways?
They have to on every
Unless this,
floor, I would assume.
unless this is like a super, like, just in the middle of butt ass nowhere, hasn't been updated motel.
But also, maybe the cameras are only by the elevators and the staircases. And whoever killed him was maybe staying, on that floor and just
Yep,
literally killed him, brought him back to his room, went back to his room. Or
I could see
hers.
it. It was fucking that giant man lady who was from the beginning.
It's the giant bearded woman.
Yeah.
A hallway scenario might explain why nothing had been disturbed in the room, but the cigarette ruled that out. There was no way Greg's attackers, returning him, would have added the fine touch of cupping one hand under his body and delicately placing a burning cigarette between his fingers. Have you never read a fucking serial killer story? These
Yeah.
people are so attention to detail. Like, are you kidding me?
Like
That's the one thing that rules that out is, oh, he had a cigarette that was perfectly in his hand. Okay.
okay. And like
So
come on.
So you murder this guy, smoke half a cig, put it in his fingers.
Yeah. Or just like light it up and then just let it burn out until it.
Yeah, because it's going to burn out if you're not hitting it, I would assume.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's such like a.
That's bad detective work.
That's stupid.
Yeah. It was also unlikely, given the ruptured atrium, that Greg would have had the time to return to the room after such a beating and calmly light up before keeling over.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but if somebody beat the fuck out of him and then dragged him in there, you know what I mean? They could
I
like
feel
okay,
like he was dead before he was in the room.
that's what I'm saying. Like if someone is that kills him in the hallway and then drags him in there, like it feels like it's unlikely that given the ruptured atrium, he would have time to return. Well, like because he was dead and somebody put him there.
He had a hole in his heart. He didn't walk anywhere after this happened. Okay.
Yeah, you don't just get your organs.
Rule that out completely.
You don't get your organs vaporized and then just casually light up a cigarette. Like
You have a hole in your balls. That literally, out of all these injuries, even if I just had a hole in my ball sack, I'm not gonna walk back to my room.
if my
I'm gonna call an ambulance.
like if my testicles are falling out of me,
Literally.
my last concern is the AC or my cigarette addiction. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
gonna be like, fuck.
My balls. Like
Jesus. More likely, Greg had lit the cigarette himself before whatever happened to him.
bullshit. No.
Yeah,
No.
and he just kept it in his hand the whole time for sure.
Yeah, gripping on that for dear life. One more hit. Like, bro.
No,
Nah.
unreasonable.
Yeah.
If Greg was right-handed, why was a cigarette found in his left hand? Because it was planted, you fucking asshole. As
Yeah.
Brennan pieced it together, examining the state of the room, Greg had gotten up from the bed and headed toward the door, shifting the cigarette to his left hand in order to grab the door handle with his right. Oh yeah, because if you're left-handed or right-handed, you can't fucking grab a door handle with the opposite hand. It's impossible. We all know this.
Yeah, it's like actually I'm thinking about getting my left hand removed because I don't ever use it
I
for
never
anything.
use it, so I'm just gonna
Get rid of it, you
get
know?
rid of it, man. It was hard to see this making sense, but Brennan had learned to be patient. It was a mistake to let what you do not know race out ahead of what you do. A crime was a puzzle. If there was even one small piece that did not fit, the puzzle was incomplete. He was willing to follow the evidence in unlikely directions, even when the conclusions it suggested were absurd.
So he's going balls to the wall in here.
Yeah, this is he's doing detective work. He's straight up gunning it, dude.
He's
Greg could,
like he's like if this is aliens, I'm gonna find them.
he's wearing a tinfoil hat.
It's like, yeah, ectoplasm. I smell
I
it.
can read their thoughts. Greg could not have been beaten to death in his room. The evidence suggested that he had died there, and he had died quickly after sustaining his wounds. Somehow, that's what had happened. He didn't know yet how it had happened, but he was convinced that Greg had been quietly minding his own business just minutes, even seconds, before he was killed.
It's a lot of damage, bro.
That's a lot of damage. That's over 9,000.
If he was killed like a serial killer or something,
Okay.
that serial killer was like, oh, dude, the power went out in his room and all the neighboring rooms. This is like the coincidence.
He's like, gotta go.
I was like, oh, this is my
What's he doing,
time.
like watching the breaker box? He's just it's just like open. He's looking at all the switches, and he's just waiting for one to flick. And he's like, oh,
Oh, that
gotta
one.
go. So all of the scenarios Apple had considered, this was one that made the most sense. The Union guys may well have been drunk and may have confronted Greg in the doorway of his room, exchanged words, and then kicked him to death right there.
But there's no
He asked,
bruises.
he asked Apple if he had interviewed them.
Yeah, they were nice.
Said Apple.
Say anything hinky? No, no. I'm sure if they were drinking, they had to talk about it to each other.
Said Brendan.
So somebody knows about them. Probably one or two of their close friends or their coworkers were going to know about this. Okay, bruises, my guy.
I know. And the like electricians, what do you think? Okay, steel-toed boots. All
Yeah.
of his bones are going to be broken, not just 3 ribs.
Yeah, like
if all of them kicked him to death, he's going to be literally mush.
yeah. And dude, okay, my brother in Christ. I want you to come over here with some steel toe boots, bring Evan, and absolutely kick the shit out of me until I die. Just to prove that my skin would be bruised to shit
For science.
for science.
So, with that, I think we are going to cut the episode here. In part 2, we will continue
Yes.
the story and keep an eye on Susie. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like this is really interesting. Like I'm really in.
I
I
am
just
too.
feel like I'm not gonna lie, bro. I feel like we could do a better investigative work than these fucking
Yeah, dude.
like. Come on,
What is this? The fucking C team? Like, these guys don't know what the hell's going on.
these guys are just getting into police academy.
And they are thinking that these guys were kicked to death, or this guy was kicked to death with boots, and he has no bruises, but all internal issues. Is clearly, like we said earlier, it's aliens. It's not that hard.
But yeah,
Well,
we will pick this up, and we just want to say thank you guys for listening, and we
Yes.
hope you enjoy it.
and if you did enjoy it, please look at all of our other shit on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere you can find a podcast.
YouTube.
Run up those views. Comment.
Yes, leave
email
us reviews on your platforms, my guys.
Yes, all 5 stars.
Become part of the God Force.
Yep, become part of
Please.
the God Force. Email us at
Please.
thoughtvoidpodcast@gmail.com.
Please do
If
it.
you have any cool stories, we would love to read them. We'll shout you out. If you don't want us to shout you out, we won't. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We love the support, and we will see you guys next week.
Please, please help us. I don't want to work anymore.
Please let us quit our jobs.
I just want this Popscast to pop off, please.